Hey other dudes. How are you dealing with the existential dread of not being able to afford things like our fathers and grandfathers were able to, and the uncertainty of the future because of it? I just don't think about it. It's hard not being able to afford a child. Every time the wife and I start getting more comfortable, another societal disaster or huge expense comes along. We're already paycheck to paycheck. I don't know how people do it. So we just say maybe in a couple years to each other every so often. Like you, I just keep my head down and work my 50 hours a week. I've never wanted to be a father, but I can't imagine how anyone can do it now. I don't bother much with that. I'm slowly chipping away at my dreams. The bigger problem is that focusing on my financial security means I'm sacrificing my dating life. I'm currently harshly reminded of the fact that dedicating my weekends to work means I don't have time, energy, or money to date anyone. Most of the time I've accepted that I'll remain single, but I'm still human and I can get lonely as well. Right now I'm feeling lonely. I was in a similar situation a few years ago. I started my first sales job to get experience, but I had to work evenings and weekends. Did that for 2 years, and then I found my current 9 to 5 sales job that I love, and can't believe they pay me what they do. Keep your head down and grind, but make sure you give yourself a plan to improve and grow on to the next thing. There's no sense wasting your life away for work. You can change the ship and direction of your life, but it takes time and persistence. You can do it. I scaled down my expectations and focus on quality of life. This is a good answer. It's good to slow down. To appreciate what you have, rather than want. Added to the final sentence, to show that I mean that one should appreciate what they have, rather than mean you directly. My partner and I met when we were already middle-aged, so we were very aware that our time together won't be endless. So we both scaled down work a bit. We buy clothes on sale and in charity shops. Go camping instead of on big holidays. I drive a really old car, but our quality of life is great. I'm dealing with it badly. I already lost everything once. Scrambled my way out of homelessness. Found my way into a dead-end job I can barely do with my lack of work experience and education. I've racked up debt trying to live alone, while everything gets more expensive, and instead of some gung-ho never again attitude I have grown numb to the fact that I'm probably just not going to be able to make even a basic survival income for much longer, and any single catastrophe would ruin my life instantly. There's no happy ending or safe place. It's just a matter of time before the house of cards collapses. I'm available for children's birthday parties, weddings and bar mitzvahs. Just a laugh, right? I just imagined a children's birthday party going on with you on a mic in the background solemnly lamenting the current state of world affairs. And it gave me a good chuckle. Gotta find the laughter where we can. One day at a ref time. I live in Argentina. Was bad since before I was born. Even with a good paying job I'm fucked nonetheless. Other people would give up and become pessimistic. But I have that thing inside of me that makes me angry. Like, even if everything is on fire and my body is failing me, even if I'm on the edge of madness, how dare you assume I'll quit on the basis that there's no hope. I do my own because it has to be done. Life is uncertainty, and still needs to be done, with or without hope, dreams, and inspiration. Because at the end of the day every punch I ever threw, even if it was for nothing, was still worth it and I'll laugh. It was tough at first, but nowadays, I realize that I can live a very comfortable life even with my frugal spending habits. If you're a single guy with no kids, it's not too hard to get by. It's hard to create a budget that will make you rich, but it's not hard to create a budget that will keep you from being poor. Good cope. It seems that many struggling people are comparing themselves only to the success stories they see on social media. Those never show the majority of us, who have to make hard choices and sacrifice important stuff to achieve something else that's more important to us. Our parents also had to work long hours and save to get to where they were, and we see the positives, but not really all the hard times they, as most people, went through. How you feel about your own achievements has something to do with the lens you look through, and who you compare yourself to. Besides the actual premises, our comparing scope might be different and wider from our parents because of our digital interfaces, and that might not be beneficial when you struggle and feel left behind. Choosing your references to positive ones and blocking the ones who make you feel bad are easy steps to better mental health and a more positive self-light. Alcoholism and depression mostly sought help for both. Even with a great job, everything seems so bleak. Honestly, changing jobs frequently and recommending close friends and family do the same. Doing the same job, and even sometimes with less responsibility, can sometimes double your salary, which is crazy. Companies don't give a rest about your loyalty and you just don't get valued enough to stay. I'm just living one day at a time, brother. If I start to break down things and really think of what I won't be able to afford in the future, I'll drive myself mad. I'm thankful for where I'm at now. Sure, it could be better, but it could be worse too. Best way I try to live is just a day at a time. My grandparents didn't have credit cards. When they ran out of money, they simply didn't eat. Apparently this happened quite often, though usually only for a day at a time. They walked 2 miles to the nearest store with a child's wagon to get groceries, because they certainly didn't have a car. Their whole life plan was interrupted by WWII. My grandfather was drafted. My grandfather's brother died after losing a fight with a tractor. My grandmother's brother died because cars didn't have collapsible steering columns, so the steering column caved in his chest. After finding success later on, my grandfather bought an extravagant gift for his mother, a dishwasher. Our pictures of their lives are far more rosy than reality. Did I mention my grandfather was a STEM PhD? Then, cheap houses, expensive computers. Now, the opposite. Enjoy your killer gaming rig. Hopefully Nvidia's 5090 will be big enough that I can finally move out of my parents' attic and live inside my GPU. And if you go for liquid cooling, you've got heat and hot water included for free. I changed career. Pimpin' you say. Don't hate the player, D. Hate them weaker hoss. I'm doing better than them actually. Dad lost the house, spending all the money on drugs/pills. Grandpa disappeared when my dad was born. I have 3-bedroom apartment, car in my own name, paid off, and I have a decent amount in my savings. Before PPL comment about asking mom, she was in Maya/in jail for most of my life. I have formulated a plan to move to a far more remote but beautiful part of my country where I may have a chance of buying a house. There's a lot of unknowns, but as long as I can find stable work I might pull it off. My old man worked hard in his 20s, well, his whole life, and started his family early, but it wouldn't have been easy, so he is a stand-up dude really. Turns out I'm not very financially literate, and I have a lot of hard work in front of me. We all make our choices. You know, I just push it back until it all resurfaces at night while I'm in bed, wondering if I'll ever do anything with my life. Probably in the most irrational way possible. I'll learn survival skills and have a tent and place to go. I can go into the wilderness where I have planned and be fine. Well, modern problems sometimes require caveman solutions. I like it. Ideally I'll start a business and get a decent plot of land, build a few cabins, and live with my friends in the area. But a tent in the desert is workable. God, is it every one of my generation who dreams of just chilling in a cabin in the mountains? Oh, I'm not trying to live in this world like the boomers did, because this is not the same world that the boomers came up in. We can't compare our lives to our parents, because nothing is the same as it was when our parents were our age. You need to adjust your expectations and start living within your means and you can have a good life. Exactly this. And this applies to all things in this modern world. For instance, the idea of celebrity and influencer really took root in their era. So I don't compare myself to any celebrities. I make a mindful effort to not allow advertisements or the influencers pushing products to have an effect on me. I acknowledge these people are famous, but with the awareness that that shouldn't make any difference. That these people are aware they make a totally unfair amount of money and have a total influence on the way some of the most unfortunate people on the planet dress, act and even smell and still go about their days living it up in mansions. cheering each other as they collect awards worth more than we make in a year for very little work. It's sickening. And it's the big carryover from the boomer culture that I despise the most. Well, comparing goes always. Are you also feeling happy because medicine is much better now? I'd start with eliminating your imaginary baseline of a random era. That's an interesting metric, but not one to tie your own life to. Never compare things and make decisions, since they are always relative. Then you keep eliminating risks. Any risk, small or big, make it go away if you can. Approaching it this way comes with inherent priority sorting. Sorting risks is easier and more accurate than say sorting your goals or needs. Example, how long can I sustain if I lost my job today? That's an important risk for everyone. Once you identify your risks, either mitigate or eliminate where possible. Over time, as you start doing better, your mitigations will last longer, risks grow smaller, and suddenly you realize it's been a while since you felt anxious. My dad went bankrupt and left my mum to raise 2 boys when I was a kid. I'm now stable with a home, a mortgage, and all my bills paid on time. I'm happy as Larry lol. I go into meltdown mode every couple of months. It's just unbelievable. It doesn't really matter whether you have a better paid job or not. Whatever you earn is not even enough to have a normal life. And I describe normal as to simply have a safe place to call base, let alone going out or owning anything. Just that. This explains the labor shortage. Many men are opting to live with their parents and not work. Living at home is usually something men avoid because it drastically limits access to sex with women. But since many guys aren't getting that anyway due to online dating dynamics, there's really no motivation. Also, working no longer ensures being able to own a home someday. You can work hard and be sexless and houseless, or you can not work and be sexless and houseless. It's no wonder many men are choosing not to work. The outcome is more or less the same either way. Don't come at me this early in the morning. I can afford more than they did, so I'm good. Just take some time to build up your career. That instant gratification thing is a pain in the ear these days. The only thing I can think of that's less affordable is housing. My grandfather and father couldn't afford beef for the table. Thankfully we had space to raise chickens and pigs and grow beans. My wife's dad had a burro as a primary mode of transportation in 1970. Granted, that was in Mexico. It was a deadly sin in my house to make a 2-minute long distance call on the one phone line shared by about 5 households. Our TV that got 2 channels good and 3, if you turned the antenna just right, cost my old man at least a week of work. Point being, it's never been all milk and honey for young people. I'm only 57, and at age 29 I was living in a 2-room apartment without air conditioning, while working 40 hours a week night shifts in a factory. Then cutting firewood on the weekends to keep my car on the road, and to be honest to buy beer, play softball and date. No kids. My wife and I both agree that this world is headed downhill and will probably be unlivable for future generations, so why would we want to willingly and knowingly force a person into that kind of world? It helps with expenses, and it helps knowing we do not have to stress about their future. I think the ultimate way to deal with it soon will be actually dealing with it instead of just not thinking about it.